78% of Americans over 65 wake up with joint pain. Meanwhile, 92% of Japanese seniors in the same age group maintain active mobility without surgery, without chronic pain, and without losing their independence. What's the difference? It's not genetics. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The exercises your gym trainer recommends, the movements fitness influencers swear by, the routines you've been following for years, they're systematically destroying your joints. After 60, your body operates under completely different rules. Your cartilage has already lost 20 to 30% of its thickness. Your ligaments have less elasticity. Your recovery time has tripled. Yet the fitness industry keeps pushing the same high-impact, joint-crushing exercises that work for 25-year-olds. Every week, orthopedic surgeons perform over 10,000 knee replacements on people over 60. Hip replacements? Another 8,000 weekly. Most of these could have been prevented by simply avoiding 5 specific exercises. Before we go further, drop a comment right now telling me your biggest joint concern. Is it your knees? Your shoulders? Your back? I read every comment, and I'll personally respond with specific guidance for your situation. And if you want to protect your joints and age with strength, hit that subscribe button so you never miss crucial information like this. The problem isn't that you're not exercising enough. The problem is you're doing the wrong exercises. Today, I'm exposing the 5 movements that are secretly stealing your mobility and showing you exactly what Japanese elders do instead. These aren't my opinions. This is backed by orthopedic research, biomechanical studies, and nearly a century of evidence from the longest-living, most mobile population on Earth. Let's start with the most popular exercise that's sending people over 60 straight to the orthopedic surgeon. Running, jogging, high-impact aerobics. The fitness world has convinced us that cardio means pounding the pavement until we're drenched in sweat. But here's what they don't tell you. Every single step you take while running creates an impact force of 3 to 5 times your body weight directly into your knees. After 60, your cartilage has already lost 20 to 30% of its thickness. That cushioning between your bones, it's never coming back. Cartilage doesn't regenerate. It doesn't heal. Once it's gone forever. So when you're running with diminished cartilage, you're essentially grinding bone against bone with every impact. The result? Accelerated osteoarthritis, meniscus tears, stress fractures, and chronic inflammation that never fully resolves. A study published in the Journal of Orthopedic Research tracked 500 runners over the age of 60 for 10 years. The findings were stark. Runners were 3.7 times more likely to need knee replacement surgery compared to non-runners in the same age group. But here's what's fascinating. The study also tracked walkers, swimmers, and cyclists. These low-impact exercisers showed zero increase in joint replacement rates while maintaining the same cardiovascular benefits as the runners. Now, before you say, "But I've been running my whole life," that's exactly the problem. Cumulative damage. Your knees have already absorbed millions of impacts over decades. After 60, you're not building resilience anymore. You're accelerating breakdown. Think of it like a car with 200,000 miles on it. You wouldn't take it off-roading, would you? You'd maintain it carefully to extend its lifespan. So what do Japanese elders do instead? They walk, not stroll. Purposeful, brisk walking that elevates heart rate without destroying joints. They swim, where water supports 90% of body weight while providing resistance. They practice Tai Chi, which challenges balance and builds leg strength through controlled, flowing movements. The Japanese understand something fundamental. Your heart doesn't know the difference between running and swimming. It only knows exertion level. Your cardiovascular system responds to elevated heart rate and sustained effort, not to how hard your feet hit the ground. But your joints? They absolutely know the difference, and they're keeping score. If you're currently running for cardio after 60, I'm not saying you need to become sedentary. I'm saying you need to become strategic. Replace high impact with intelligent alternatives that protect your joints while delivering better long-term results. Because here's the reality. You can't outrun joint degeneration. You can only accelerate it. But at least running uses your full body in a natural movement pattern. This next exercise isolates one joint in the most dangerous position imaginable, and it's still being taught in gyms across the country. The behind-the-neck shoulder press. Physical therapists have a nickname for this exercise, the retirement plan builder, because it keeps them in business, treating rotator cuff injuries in people over 60 who trusted their gym trainer more than their body's warning signals. Here's what this exercise looks like. You're sitting or standing with a barbell or dumbbells, and you're pressing weight up and down behind your head. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's what's actually happening inside your shoulder joint. After 60, your rotator cuff tendons have already begun to degenerate. They're thinner, less elastic, and more prone to tearing. Your shoulder capsule has naturally tightened, reducing your range of motion. These aren't signs of weakness. They're normal aging adaptations. Now, when you press weight behind your neck, you're forcing your shoulder into extreme external rotation while under load. This position creates impingement, where your rotator cuff tendons get pinched between your upper arm bone and your shoulder blade. Every repetition inflames these tendons. Every workout session creates micro tears that don't fully heal. Within months, you've developed chronic shoulder pain. Within a year, you might be looking at a rotator cuff tear that requires surgical repair. The most common mistake I see? People think they need this exercise for complete shoulder development. They've been told that pressing behind the neck hits different muscle fibers than front pressing. It's completely false. Your anterior deltoid, medial deltoid, and upper trapezius work identically in both movements. The only difference is the injury rate. Here's another mistake. Using this exercise because it feels like a good stretch. That stretch you're feeling? That's your rotator cuff tendons being strained beyond their safe range. After 60, that sensation isn't productive stretching. It's tissue damage in progress. Your shoulder is sending you a warning signal, and you're interpreting it as progress. So, what do Japanese elders do for shoulder strength? They use front raises with light weights or resistance bands, keeping the movement in front of their body where the shoulder joint is naturally stable. They practice lateral raises at controlled angles, stopping at shoulder height rather than forcing weight overhead. They incorporate slow, deliberate arm circles that maintain mobility without creating impingement. These movements build the exact same strength while respecting the anatomical changes that come with aging. The Japanese martial arts tradition teaches something profound. Strength without mobility is useless, and mobility without joint integrity is temporary. Your shoulders need to be strong enough for daily life, reaching overhead to grab something from a shelf, lifting a grandchild, carrying groceries. They don't need to press heavy weight behind your neck. That movement doesn't exist anywhere in functional living. If you're doing behind the neck presses right now, stop immediately. Switch to front pressing, reduce the weight, and focus on control rather than load. Your rotator cuff will thank you by lasting another 30 years instead of tearing in the next 6 months. Now, if damaging your upper body wasn't enough, this next exercise attacks the largest, most essential joints in your entire body, and it's probably the most popular movement in every gym. Deep squats with heavy weight. The fitness industry loves to preach ass-to-grass squats as the ultimate test of functional strength. Orthopedic surgeons have a different name for people who follow this advice after 60. Future patients. Here's why they're not wrong. When you squat past 90 degrees, the angle where your thighs are parallel to the ground, something critical happens inside your knee joint. The pressure on your cartilage increases exponentially. At a 90-degree squat, your knees experience force equal to roughly 3 times your body weight. But drop into a full deep squat, and that force jumps to 7 to 8 times your body weight. Add a barbell loaded with an additional 50 to 100 pounds, and you're now compressing your knee cartilage with forces it was never designed to handle, especially after 60. Here's what most people don't understand about cartilage after 60. It's not just thinner, it's drier, less resilient, and has lost much of its shock-absorbing capacity. Think of it like an old sponge. When it's new, it bounces back after compression, When it's old and dried out, it crumbles under pressure. Your knee cartilage follows the same pattern. Every deep squat under load creates microfractures in that already compromised cartilage. These don't heal, they accumulate. But here's what's even more concerning. The meniscus, that crescent-shaped cushion in your knee, experiences maximum stress at the bottom of a deep squat. A study from the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports tracked 200 adults over 60 who performed weighted deep squats twice weekly. After just 18 months, 43% showed meniscus tears on MRI scans, even when they reported no pain. No pain doesn't mean no damage. It means the damage hasn't reached the threshold where your nervous system screams for attention yet. The fitness influencers will tell you that full range of motion is essential for functional strength. They'll say anything less is cheating. But here's the reality. When was the last time you needed to squat with 200 pounds on your back until your hamstrings touched your calves? Never. That movement doesn't exist in real life. What does exist? Standing up from a chair, picking something up from knee height, getting in and out of a car. All of these require a squat depth of roughly 90 degrees, not full depth under heavy load. The most dangerous mistake I see is people confusing ego with progress. They load the bar heavier and drop deeper because that's what they see younger athletes doing. Your 60-year-old knees don't care about what works for a 25-year-old. They operate under completely different biomechanical rules. Ignoring this reality doesn't make you tough. It makes you a candidate for knee replacement surgery. So what do Japanese elders do instead? They practice shikodachi, the sumo stance squat we covered in previous videos. Bodyweight only, controlled depth, wide stance that reduces knee stress while building incredible leg strength. They perform partial range squats, stopping at 90 degrees where the joint is strongest. They use wall squats for isometric strength without the compression of loaded movement. These approaches build the exact strength you need for daily living, without destroying the joints you need to keep moving. Your knees have a finite number of high-stress repetitions before they fail. Deep-weighted squats after 60 are spending that reserve at an accelerated rate for no additional functional benefit. At least squats work multiple muscle groups in a natural movement pattern. This next exercise isolates your core in a way that creates hundreds of pounds of compression force directly on your spine with every single repetition. Full sit-ups and crunches, the exercise everyone thinks builds a strong core, the movement that's actually creating the chronic back pain you can't seem to shake. Here's the truth your fitness trainer won't tell you. Every single sit-up you do after 60 creates 340 pounds of compression force on your lower spine. Do a set of 20 repetitions, and you've just compressed your discs with 6,800 pounds of cumulative pressure. Now do that 3 times a week for a year. After 60, your spinal discs have already lost 15 to 20% of their water content. They're thinner, less cushioned, and far more vulnerable to herniation. Think of your discs like jelly donuts. When they're fresh and full, you can squeeze them without damage. But when they're dried out and flattened, the slightest pressure causes the jelly to burst through the shell. That's exactly what happens when you perform repeated spinal flexion under load after 60. But here's what makes this even worse. The sit-up movement doesn't just compress your discs. It reinforces the exact postural problem that's already plaguing people over 60: forward head posture and rounded shoulders. When you pull yourself up during a sit-up, you're training your body to flex forward, the same position you're stuck in from years of sitting at desks, driving cars, and looking at screens. You're strengthening a dysfunction, not correcting it. A groundbreaking study from the University of Waterloo used motion capture and pressure sensors to measure spinal load during various core exercises. Sit-ups generated the highest compressive forces of any core movement tested. But here's the fascinating part. They also showed the lowest activation of the deep core stabilizers that actually matter for spine health. In other words, sit-ups are maximally damaging while providing minimal benefit to the muscles you actually need for a strong, stable core. The most common mistake? People think more repetitions mean stronger abs, but your core's primary job isn't to flex your spine repeatedly. It's to resist movement, to stabilize your spine during daily activities like carrying groceries, reaching overhead, or simply standing upright. Here's another critical error: pulling on your neck during sit-ups to help yourself up. This creates massive strain on your cervical spine, the 7 small vertebrae in your neck. After 60, these vertebrae are already dealing with degenerative changes. Adding pulling force accelerates disc problems and nerve compression in your neck. That headache you get after ab workouts? That's not normal. That's cervical strain signaling damage. So what do Japanese elders do for core strength? They practice zazen, the seated meditation posture that requires constant engagement of deep spinal stabilizers. These movements build genuine core strength, the kind that protects your spine during daily life, not the kind that looks good in a mirror while destroying your discs. The Japanese martial arts concept of hara, which refers to the center of physical and spiritual strength located in your lower abdomen, isn't developed through endless crunches. It's cultivated through controlled breathing and sustained stabilization. That's real core power. That's what keeps your spine healthy at 80. If you're still doing sit-ups, you're trading short-term ab definition for long-term spine damage. The cost-benefit analysis couldn't be clearer. Finally, let's talk about the machine that every gym has, but no one over 60 should ever touch. This one creates forces that literally shred your knee ligaments from the inside out. The leg extension machine. Walk into any gym, and you'll see people sitting in this contraption, lifting weight by straightening their legs against a padded bar. It looks safe. But here's what physical therapists know that most people don't. There's a reason this machine is never used during knee rehabilitation. The same reason you should never touch it after 60. It creates shearing forces that literally tear your knee apart from the inside. Here's what's happening inside your knee during a leg extension. As you straighten your leg against resistance, the force doesn't just work your quadriceps. It creates something called anterior tibial shear, where your shin bone gets pulled forward relative to your thigh bone. Your anterior cruciate ligament, the ACL, is the only structure preventing this forward slide. So every repetition on the leg extension machine is essentially trying to rip your ACL away from the bone while your ligament desperately fights to hold your knee together. After 60, your ACL has already lost significant strength and elasticity. Collagen degradation is a normal part of aging. Your ligaments don't bounce back like they used to. They're more brittle, less able to handle stress, and far more prone to partial or complete tears. Now imagine subjecting this already vulnerable ligament to repeated shearing forces 3 times a week. You're not building strength. You're systematically weakening the structural integrity of your knee. But here's what most people don't know about the leg extension machine. The movement pattern doesn't exist anywhere in real life. Think about it. When do you ever sit down and straighten your leg against resistance while your thigh stays completely still? Never. Not when you walk, not when you climb stairs, not when you stand up from a chair. Every functional leg movement in daily life involves your entire kinetic chain working together, your hips, your knees, and your ankles moving in coordination. The leg extension isolates your knee in an unnatural pattern that creates joint instability rather than functional strength. The most dangerous mistake I see is people using leg extensions to strengthen their knees after experiencing knee pain. This is backwards logic. Your knee isn't weak because your quadriceps are weak. Your knee hurts because the joint itself is compromised. And leg extensions make it worse by adding shearing stress to an already damaged structure. Here's another critical error: increasing the weight on leg extensions because it feels too easy. That ease you're feeling isn't a sign you need more resistance. It's because the machine is doing all the stabilization work for you. Your body isn't learning to control the movement. The machine is controlling it while your knee absorbs unnatural forces. In the real world, without that machine, your knee has no idea how to function under load, which is why people who rely on leg extensions often report feeling unstable during basic activities like walking on uneven ground. So what do Japanese elders do for leg strength? They practice shikodachi and kibidachi, traditional stances that build quad strength through natural compound movements. They perform step-ups, where the entire leg works as an integrated unit. They do shallow lunges that strengthen the quads while training balance and coordination. These movements build real-world strength, the kind that translates to climbing stairs, getting off the floor, and maintaining independence. If there's one machine you remove from your routine today, make it the leg extension. Your knees will reward you with years of pain-free movement instead of surgical intervention. Now that you know what's destroying your joints, let me show you exactly what you should do instead to build real, sustainable strength. While Americans are lining up for joint replacement surgeries at record rates, Japanese elders are maintaining full mobility into their 80s and 90s without chronic pain, without surgical intervention, and without losing their independence. Here's their secret: they never sacrifice joint health for temporary strength gains. They understand something fundamental that Western fitness culture completely misses. Sustainable movement beats intense exercise every single time. Let me give you the complete framework that Japanese elders use to build real strength while protecting their joints. This isn't about doing less, it's about doing smarter. First principle: body weight before added load. Your body weight is resistance. If you can't control your own body through a full range of motion with perfect form, adding external weight is just compensating for poor movement quality with ego. Master body weight movements first, then, and only then, consider adding minimal resistance. Second principle: compound movements over isolation. When you train isolation exercises, you're teaching your body to function in ways it never uses in real life. Compound movements like squats, lunges, push-ups, and rows train your muscles to work as integrated systems. This builds functional strength that actually translates to daily activities like carrying groceries, lifting grandchildren, or getting up from the floor. Third principle: joint-friendly ranges of motion. Full range of motion sounds good in theory, but after 60, it's a recipe for injury. Your joints have natural safe zones where the surrounding muscles can protect them. Beyond these zones, you're relying on ligaments and cartilage that have already degraded. Smart training respects these boundaries. Now let's talk about specific replacements for those 5 damaging exercises. Instead of running, switch to brisk walking for 30 to 45 minutes daily, swimming where the water supports your joints while providing resistance, or cycling, which builds cardiovascular fitness without impact. Your heart rate will elevate just as much, your cardiovascular system will strengthen identically, but your knees will last decades longer. Instead of behind-the-neck pressing, perform front shoulder raises with light dumbbells or resistance bands, keeping the weight in front of your body where your shoulder is naturally stable. Add lateral raises to shoulder height, not above, which builds the same deltoid strength without rotator cuff impingement. These movements target identical muscles with zero joint damage. Instead of deep-weighted squats, practice bodyweight shikodachi, the wide stance sumo squat that opens your hips while building leg strength. Use wall squats for isometric holds that develop muscle endurance without compression. Perform box squats to a bench at 90 degrees, which trains the exact depth you need for daily function. You'll build more usable strength than you ever did with heavy barbell squats. Instead of sit-ups and crunches, hold planks for 20 to 60 seconds, which train your core to stabilize your spine the way it actually functions in real life. Practice dead bugs, lying on your back while moving opposite arm and leg in coordination. This builds deep core strength and improves the coordination between your core and limbs. Try bird dogs, where you balance on hands and knees while extending opposite limbs. These movements strengthen your core without compressing your spine. Instead of leg extension machines, do step-ups onto a stable platform, which builds quad strength while training the hip and ankle to work together. Practice shallow lunges that challenge your balance and coordination. Perform standing leg movements that teach your body to function as an integrated system. These exercises build strength that actually transfers to real-world activities. The Japanese approach isn't about limitation. It's about wisdom. It's choosing movements that build you up rather than break you down. It's understanding that your goal at 60 isn't to match what you did at 30. Your goal is to maintain independence at 80. Now let me tie this all together and show you exactly what choice you're making every time you step into a gym. The 5 exercises I just exposed aren't killing you. They're stealing something far more valuable: your independence. Running destroys your knees. Behind the neck, pressing tears your rotator cuffs. Deep-weighted squats compress your cartilage. Sit-ups herniate your discs. Leg extensions shred your ligaments. Every repetition is a withdrawal from your mobility account, and after 60, you can't make deposits anymore. You can only preserve what you have left. Remember those statistics from the beginning? 78% of Americans over 65 living with chronic joint pain versus 92% of Japanese seniors maintaining active mobility. That gap isn't genetic. It's not luck. It's the daily choice between joint-destroying exercises and joint-preserving movement. The Japanese didn't discover a miracle. They simply never stopped respecting their body's changing needs. This isn't about giving up strength. It's about choosing sustainable strength over temporary ego. The difference between walking independently at 85 and sitting in a wheelchair comes down to the choices you make today, right now, in this moment. So here's my challenge. Drop a comment right now, telling me which of these 5 exercises you've been doing and which one you're committing to stop today. I read every single comment, and I'll personally respond with specific guidance. If we get 200 comments on this video, I'll release my complete joint preservation workout program designed specifically for people over 60. Hit that like button if this opened your eyes, and subscribe so you never miss life-changing information like this. Your joints have carried you this far. Now it's time to protect them.